20 most surprising geographical facts that set the Reno-Tahoe region apart. From an alpine lake high in the Sierra that never reaches the ocean, to a desert metropolis sustained by mountain snowmelt, this list uncovers water systems that defy logic, climate shifts measured by the mile, and landscapes shaped over millions of years. Some entries will make you rethink what you know about water, deserts, and mountain cities. Let us dive in, starting with number 1. Lake Tahoe sits over 6,200 feet above sea level, filled with nearly 39 trillion gallons of ice-blue water. But unlike most major lakes, it has just a single way out, a small dam at Tahoe City, where the Truckee River begins its journey. The river does not flow west toward the Pacific or east to the Atlantic. Instead, it turns north and then northeast, winding through mountain canyons and past the city of Reno, only to vanish into the desert. Every drop that leaves Tahoe's basin is lost to evaporation or seeps underground. None of it ever reaches the ocean. This is the heart of a closed endorheic system. In the Reno-Tahoe region, water's final destination is not the sea, but an inland sink, defying the expectations of what a mountain lake should be. Reno and Sparks rise from the Nevada desert, yet nearly 4 out of every 5 glasses of tap water here begin as snow high above the city. The Truckee River, fed by Lake Tahoe's alpine melt, supplies 75 to 80% of the drinking water for this 500,000-strong metro area. It is an unusual setup. A dry, sunny city depends almost entirely on water that begins its journey miles up in the Sierra, more than 6,000 feet above sea level. The entire watershed, including Lake Tahoe's deep basin, the winding Truckee River, and a network of reservoirs, works in tandem to keep faucets flowing, crops irrigated, and lights on. In Reno, every shower, every cup of coffee, every green park owes its existence to mountain storms and the slow release of snowmelt from a lake that never meets the sea. 63. Separate creeks and streams pour down from the granite ridges and snowy peaks surrounding Lake Tahoe, feeding its vast high-altitude basin. Each spring, meltwater and rain race through rocky channels and alpine meadows, carrying pulses of cold, clear water into the lake. But for all this input, over 300 square miles of watershed, there is only one way out. The entire system funnels through a single dam at Tahoe City, where the outflow is carefully regulated to a narrow 6-foot range. This creates a natural bottleneck, an enormous lake constantly refilled by dozens of tributaries, but with just one small exit. The result is a hydrologic slowdown, trapping water in the basin for centuries and setting the stage for Tahoe's famously slow turnover and ancient depths. Water in Lake Tahoe moves at a pace almost impossible to imagine. The average water molecule remains in the lake for 650 to 700 years before it ever escapes through the dam at Tahoe City or evaporates into the sky. But deep below the sparkling surface, in pockets more than 1,600 feet down, some water lingers far longer. Scientists estimate up to 2,000 years, maybe even longer in the most isolated basins. This slow-motion cycle results from a massive volume held in a granite bowl, with inflow from dozens of mountain streams, but only a single, narrow exit. As a result, changes in the lake, whether from storms, pollution, or drought, take centuries to ripple through the system. In a world of fast-moving rivers, Tahoe stands almost outside of time, holding ancient water in its depths. Lake Tahoe's legendary clarity is not luck, it is geology at work. The entire basin is carved from hard Sierra granite, with only a thin layer of soil covering the slopes. When rain or snowmelt flows down from the mountains, it passes through coarse, decomposed granite and open meadows rather than muddy topsoil. This natural filtration strips out sediment and nutrients before water ever reaches the lake. The result is an oligotrophic lake, one with very low nutrient levels and almost no algae to cloud the water. Historic records show that a white Secchi disk could once be seen more than 100 feet below the surface. Even today, Tahoe ranks among the clearest large lakes in the world, thanks to its granite bowl and the relentless work of time. Storms sweeping across the Sierra do not just fill Lake Tahoe's creeks, they drop a striking share of their water straight into the lake itself. On average, about 1/3 of Lake Tahoe's annual input arrives as rain or snow that never touches land, falling directly onto the lake's broad, high-altitude surface. This is an unusually large proportion for an alpine lake, where most water flows in from surrounding streams. The result is a system acutely sensitive to changes in storm tracks and winter weather patterns. When a dry year shifts the path of Pacific storms, the lake's level and clarity can respond almost immediately. In Tahoe, the difference between a full basin and a shrinking shoreline can hinge on clouds passing over open water. Each winter's weather is more than just a backdrop. It's a critical part of the lake's balance. Most of Nevada, including the entire Reno to Tahoe corridor, sits inside the Great Basin, a vast region where no river ever reaches the sea. Water from the Sierra Nevada flows east, only to disappear into desert valleys and terminal lakes. The Truckee, Walker, and Humboldt rivers each carve their way across hundreds of miles, but their journeys end in isolated sinks like Pyramid Lake, Walker Lake, and the Humboldt Sink. These are the dead ends of the continent's drainage, cut off from any ocean by mountain ranges and arid basins. It is a closed water world, stitched together by rivers that rise in snowfields, but finish as vapor or salt flats. The entire Reno-Sparks Metro is part of this endorheic system, surrounded by invisible boundaries that keep every drop of water locked within the desert. This unique geography sets the stage for some of the sharpest climate contrasts anywhere in North America. Reno basks in nearly 300 days of sunshine each year, making it one of the brightest cities in the United States. Yet less than an hour's drive from downtown, the Sierra Nevada mountains rise sharply, collecting storms that dump 25 to 40 feet of snow on Tahoe's ski resorts every winter. This is where two worlds meet. A high desert city famous for blue skies, sitting in the shadow of peaks that hold some of the deepest snowpacks in North America. The contrast is immediate. Walk out of a sun-soaked neighborhood in Reno, and you can be standing in a blizzard at 8,000 feet before your coffee cools. In the Reno-Tahoe region, climate is not just a matter of latitude or season. It is a matter of elevation, compressed into a single, breathtaking drive. Moist air from the Pacific sweeps eastward until it meets the abrupt wall of the Sierra Nevada. Forced upward, the air cools and drops its load, dumping more than 40 inches of precipitation each year on the mountains west of Lake Tahoe, with even higher totals on the crest. But as these storms crest the range and descend toward Reno, the story changes. The air, now wrung dry, sinks and warms, leaving the eastern slopes in a classic rain shadow. Reno, just 30 miles from the snow-laden peaks, averages less than 8 inches of precipitation a year. This sharp gradient, wet forests on one side and sagebrush desert on the other, creates one of the most dramatic climate boundaries in North America. The difference can be measured in feet of snow and months of sunshine, all compressed into a single mountain crossing. A single hour behind the wheel in the Reno-Tahoe region can take you through a compressed slice of the American West's wildest environments. Starting high above 8,000 feet, the road winds through subalpine forests of fir and white bark pine, where snow lingers late into spring and the air stays crisp even in July. Descend a few thousand feet, and the trees shift. Jeffrey pine and incense cedar give way to open stands of juniper and scattered sagebrush. By the time you reach the valley floor near Reno, the landscape has transformed again. Dense forest replaced by rolling sage steppe. And farther out, stretches of alkaline flats, dusted white with minerals. In less than 60 miles, the elevation drops over 3,000 feet, and the climate flips from mountain cold to desert heat. This rapid transition compresses 4 major ecological zones into a drive shorter than most morning commutes, an entire continent's worth of change packed into a single mountain descent. At ski resorts high above the Truckee River, the line between natural snow, human engineering blurs. Each winter, water drawn from the same river that supplies Reno's taps is pumped uphill, pressurized, and blasted through snow guns, transforming liquid runoff back into powder for the slopes. This process is not just a clever workaround for dry spells. It is a closed-loop twist, where river water becomes artificial snow, only to melt and rejoin the watershed weeks later. The right to withdraw water for snowmaking is tightly controlled, with volumes tracked and regulated by state permits. Yet the demand for winter recreation keeps growing, adding a human layer to the region's already complex water cycle. In the Reno-Tahoe Basin, even a ski run is part of the story of how mountain water is managed, reused, and returned. The Truckee River, slicing through the heart of Reno, is a desert river with a hidden temper. Most days its flow is modest, threading through a city that sees less than 8 inches of rain a year. But when warm Pacific storms sweep in, carrying moisture from thousands of miles away, the balance can tip in an instant. Rain falls hard on deep mountain snow, melting it all at once and sending torrents racing down the canyon. In January 1997, the river surged far beyond its banks, flooding downtown streets and casinos, swamping neighborhoods, and forcing evacuations. That winter, a weather pattern known as the Pineapple Express delivered more than a foot of rain in some Sierra locations, unleashing a flood that would cause over $600 million in damage. For a city built on sunshine and sagebrush, the risk is not drought alone. It is the rare, explosive floods that remind everyone how quickly mountain water can become a desert hazard. Long before the first humans set eyes on Tahoe's blue expanse, the land itself was still taking shape. 2 to 3 million years ago, powerful forces deep underground pulled the earth apart, dropping the Tahoe Basin between rising mountain blocks. Volcanic eruptions at the north end sealed the valley, trapping water and creating a lake that would outlast ice ages, earthquakes, and the rise and fall of entire mountain ranges, while the modern Sierra Nevada continued to grow and shift. Lake Tahoe already filled its granite bowl, quietly collecting snowmelt and rain for millennia. Sediment cores drilled from the lakebed reveal a continuous record stretching back over 2 million years. That record shows Tahoe is not just ancient, but older than many of the mountains that ring its shore. In this landscape, time runs deep, measured in epochs rather than seasons. As the last ice age waned, the land around Lake Tahoe was anything but stable. Retreating glaciers left behind massive ridges of rock and debris called moraines across the valleys near the lake's outlet. These natural dams sometimes blocked the flow of water, causing Tahoe to rise hundreds of feet above its present level. Geologists have traced ancient shorelines nearly 600 feet higher than today, revealing a time when the lake was a vast inland sea. Eventually, these moraine dams gave way, unleashing powerful floods down the Truckee River Canyon. House-sized granite boulders scattered along the river corridor stand as silent witnesses to these outburst events. Each flood carved new channels, scoured the canyon walls, and sent pulses of water racing toward the desert, reshaping the landscape in a matter of hours. In the story of Tahoe, even the land itself has a history of sudden, dramatic change. Beneath the calm blue surface of Lake Tahoe, a hidden scar stretches for miles along the west shore. Between 7,000 and 15,000 years ago, a massive chunk of mountainside near McKinney Bay broke loose and thundered into the lake. This underwater landslide moved several cubic kilometers of rock and earth, instantly reshaping the shoreline and sending a debris apron far out onto the lake bed. Modern sonar mapping reveals the aftermath: a jagged underwater slope, fields of toppled boulders, and a wide embayment where the land once stood. The force of the collapse widened the shoreline by miles in places, leaving a mark still visible to scientists scanning the depths. While the surface remains serene, the lake floor holds the memory of a catastrophe powerful enough to alter Tahoe's geography in a single moment. Lake Tahoe's color is more than a postcard cliché. It is the product of physics at work in an alpine bowl. The water here is among the purest found in any large lake on Earth. Stripped nearly bare of particles and nutrients by the granite basin and natural filtration of mountain meadows. Sunlight plunges deep into Tahoe, but most colors are swallowed up before they can bounce back. Only blue light, with its short, energetic waves, survives the journey and scatters upward, painting the lake in shades that can rival the Caribbean. Clarity and color are linked. Fewer suspended particles mean less interference, letting blue dominate the spectrum. On clear summer days, it is not unusual for the lake's surface to glow with a vividness that seems almost unreal, a visual signature of water so clean that even light itself gets filtered. Stretching 22 miles from end to end, Lake Tahoe's main basin is nearly as long as the English Channel is wide at its narrowest crossing. But there is a twist. While the channel sits at sea level, Tahoe is perched more than 6,200 feet above the Pacific, cradled high in the Sierra Nevada. This massive sheet of water, held in a granite bowl, hides its true scale behind mountain walls and forested slopes. From the shoreline, it is easy to mistake Tahoe for a typical alpine lake, but the numbers tell another story. It is a body of water so large and elevated that it rivals major world landmarks, yet remains tucked away more than 1 mile above the desert below. The sense of scale here is not just vertical, it is horizontal, stretching across a landscape shaped by ancient forces and dramatic elevation. Lake Tahoe's granite basin holds a staggering 44 billion tons of water, about 39 trillion gallons by volume. That is enough to blanket the entire state of California in more than a foot of water, every city and valley submerged to the curb. The scale defies easy comparison. Tahoe's 156 cubic kilometers of water could supply the current United States population for over 5 years, with every person using a typical daily amount. Yet all this water sits locked in a closed mountain bowl, perched above 6,200 feet, with just a single regulated outlet. The sheer mass of Tahoe's supply is hidden by forests and peaks, but the numbers reveal a reservoir of alpine water so vast it shapes the fate of the desert below. Pyramid Lake rests in the Nevada desert at nearly 3,800 feet above sea level, where the Truckee River's journey comes to an end. This is the final destination for every drop that escapes Lake Tahoe. There is no outlet, no path to the ocean. It is a vast inland sink. Pyramid Lake plunges to a depth of about 350 feet, and it holds the remnants of an Ice Age giant called Lake Lahontan, which once covered much of northwestern Nevada and stood hundreds of feet higher than today. The lake's shores and waters are central to the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe, whose traditions and fisheries are tied to this unique water world. Here, water from mountain snow becomes desert vapor, and the story of the entire basin closes in a place that is both a geological relic and a living cultural heart. Reno and Sparks form one of America's only major metropolitan areas, built entirely inside a closed desert basin. Here, more than 500,000 people depend on a water system that never connects to any ocean. Every river, every drop of runoff disappears into the sand or evaporates in the sun. The city's growth, daily life, and future are shaped by this invisible boundary. It is a modern urban world, thriving inside a hydrologic island surrounded by mountains and desert. Across all 20 facts, one pattern stands out. In the Reno-Tahoe region, nature ignores boundaries. Here, A lake 2 million years old, sitting at 6,200 feet, sustains a desert city. Rivers vanish into sand, and climates shift over mere miles. This landscape proves that water, elevation, and geology can create systems as strange as they are vital. Understanding them is not just science, it is survival in the high desert.